In this video, I'll show you how to make this colorful raglan sweater, which is constructed from the top down. To make the sweater, I'm using a little over 400 grams of this colorful Aran yarn that I got from a local flea market, but you can use any yarn that you'd like. You'll also need a 6mm crochet hook, a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and some stitch markers. To start, we'll make a slip knot. I'm creating a ribbon like this and pulling the strand of yarn through the hole, then pulling up to tighten. For the collar, we'll start with our 5mm crochet hook, so you can insert that into the loop, and we'll start by chaining 7. Single crochet into the second chain from the hook. Repeat this in every chain until the end of the row. At the end of the row, you should have 6 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to be working a single crochet in the back loops only. So insert your crochet hook into the back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Repeat this pattern until the end of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. Repeat the pattern of single crochet in the back loops only. Repeat the pattern of single crochet in the back loops only until you reach 84 rows. And don't forget to chain 1 in between each row. After 84 rows, we're going to connect both ends together. First, I'm going to chain 1 and take the other end and line it up, making sure that there's no twist in the strand. And we're going to slip stitch these ends together. To slip stitch, I'll be working in the back loop only on one end. So insert your crochet hook into the back loop and slip stitch across on the other end. So just inserting underneath that strand and pulling through the loops. And we'll continue to slip stitch this way until the end of the row. After slip stitching the band together, we're going to chain 1 and turn this inside out so that the outside is the correct side. So we're on our correct side, and we're going to work a single crochet into the side of every row. To figure out where to insert into each row, when you look at the ridges, that will count as one row, and everything to the side of it is another row. First, I'll work a single crochet in the side of that first ridge. So that's one row, and in the ridge itself, we're going to work another single crochet. And each of the ridges that you work a single crochet into will be a little thicker than the side of the ridge. So when I'm inserting my hook in here, I'm picking up like 2 stitches, and to the side of that, when I do a single crochet, it's just a single loop. So there aren't perfect stitches to work into. You'll just want to work a single crochet in each ridge and the side of each ridge all the way around the 84 rows. After working 84 single crochets, we'll slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round. And at this point, we'll switch over to our 6.5mm crochet hook. So you can remove the 5mm and grab the 6mm and insert it into the loop. Now we'll be working in the rounds. So we'll start by chaining 3. And we'll work a double crochet into the same stitch that the chain 3 is coming out of. Yarn over, insert the crochet hook into that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And the chain 3 will count as a double crochet. Double crochet in the next 17 stitches. So I'm starting my count at 1, 2, and all the way up to 17. After 17 double crochets, you can go ahead and count to make sure that you have 17. And in the 18th stitch, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet in the same stitch. And this is called a V-stitch increase, and we're going to mark each of these increases with a stitch marker. Double crochet in the next 23 stitches. When you do your first double crochet, you want to make sure not to miss the stitch directly next to the V. So that's 1, 2, and I'll continue this until I reach the 23rd stitch. After 23 stitches, you can go ahead and count to make sure that you did 23 double crochets. And in the 24th stitch, we're going to work a V-stitch increase. So work 1 double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet back in the same stitch. And we'll mark this V-stitch with a stitch marker. Double crochet in the next 17 stitches. I'm counting that I did 17 double crochets. And in the 18th stitch, I'm going to work a V-stitch increase. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the same stitch. Then mark it with your stitch marker. Double crochet in the next 23 stitches to finish off the round. When approaching the end of the round, there is one final stitch to work a double crochet into. It's a little tiny and hard to get into, but this is where we're going to place the last double crochet. So that will be the 23rd stitch. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the second chain in the chain 3 that we started the round with. We're also going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space. To start the next round, chain 3 and work a double crochet in the same stitch. Work 1 double crochet into the next 19 stitches. And the first stitch you work into will be directly next to the V. So don't forget to add a double crochet in there, as it's really easy to miss. After 19 stitches, I've reached the stitch marker and I'm going to work 1 double crochet into that V space, chain 1, and work a double crochet back into the same V space. So now I've done an increase on top of the V-stitch from last round, and I'm going to move the stitch marker up to our new V-stitch. Double crochet into the next 25 stitches, and the first double crochet you do will be directly next to the V-stitch. When you reach the stitch marker, go ahead and remove it and work a double crochet into that V space, chain 1, and work a double crochet back into the same V space. Insert the stitch marker back into the V stitch. Double crochet in the next 19 stitches, remembering to place the first double crochet next to the V. After 19 stitches, remove the stitch marker and place a V-stitch increase into the V space. Here's the increase, And we're going to double crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. I've done 24 double crochets and we're going to place our 25th into this last stitch, which looks a little tiny and might be hard to get into, but this is where the last double crochet will go. So this brings us to 25 stitches, and I'm going to slip stitch into the second chain in the chain 3. And we're also going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space. To start the next round, chain 3 and work a double crochet into the same stitch. We're going to continue increasing the size of this yoke until it's large enough for the size that you're making, and the V-stitch increase will happen at each of these stitch markers, and in between those markers the stitch count will increase by 2 each round. So for this next round we're going to start by double crocheting into the first 21 stitches, because last round we started with 19 stitches and then did our increase. And you're going to repeat this pattern until you reach your desired width. For the size small sweater, I stopped increasing after 15 rows. For reference, I have 200 stitches in this 15th round. And what we'll do next is separate the sleeve holes from the body of our sweater. To start, I'm going to pick up where I left off and chain 2, and I'm going to work a double crochet into the same space, and now I'm going to chain 4, and we're going to skip this entire section and look for the first stitch marker, which is right here, and we're going to connect our first sleeve hole. So I'm going to look for that stitch marker and remove it, and inside of that V into the second double crochet of the V, which is right here, I'm going to work a double crochet into that stitch. And then I'm going to work a double crochet into each of these stitches until I reach the next stitch marker. So I've worked up to the stitch before the stitch marker, and I'm going to chain 4. And like we did with the first sleeve, we're going to skip this entire section and find the next stitch marker, which is right here. And I'm going to remove that and work a double crochet into the second stitch of that V. So that's where that second stitch is, and I'm going to work a double crochet into that stitch. Here's the second sleeve hole, and now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until the end of the round. At the end of the round, we'll slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet stitch. So we finished increasing and connecting our sleeve holes, and now we're going to work in continuous rounds. So I'm working a double crochet into this first chain, and I'm going to add a stitch marker to the first stitch to track where I started the body. And we'll continue to work a double crochet in each of these chains. And after those chains, we'll continue to work double crochets in each of these stitches along the back. When you reach the next set of chains where the sleeve hole is, we're also going to work double crochets into each of those chains. And continue working a double crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. At the end of the round, we're going to double crochet into the stitch where the stitch marker was and place the stitch marker back into that stitch that we just made. So we're no longer going to be chaining or slip stitching. We're just going to work in continuous rounds of double crochets. So repeat this pattern until you reach the length of the sweater that you desire. I worked up to 20 rounds for a size small just before the brim. If you choose to add a bottom ribbing or brim to your sweater, here's how you can do that. Right before the stitch marker into this last stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet. And when we reach the stitch marker, we'll remove that and work a single crochet into that stitch. Single crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. At the end of the round, slip stitch into the first single crochet. And now we can begin the ribbing of the sweater. And this part is completely optional. If you wanted to chain one and fasten off, then you can do that here. I'm going to work the bottom ribbing for my sweater, so I'll start by chaining 7. And if you want this to be a thicker brim, then you can add more chains to this as well. Once you have your desired number of chains, we're going to half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. Yarn over and insert the crochet hook into that first chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Repeat this until you reach the end of the chain. So I've done 6 half double crochets into those chains, and now I'm going to slip stitch where we joined our slip stitch when we made the chain. So going to slip stitch into that stitch, and to decrease the amount of ribbed rows I do, I'm going to work a slip stitch 2 together. To do that, I'll insert the crochet hook into that next stitch, pull up a loop, insert my crochet hook into that third stitch, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through all the loops on the hook. Then we'll turn our work and we'll face the stitches up towards us like this, and we're going to work into the back loops of the tops of these stitches. So I'll yarn over and work a half double crochet into the back loop only. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Work a back loop half double crochet in each of these stitches and stop before reaching the last stitch of the row. When you reach the last stitch of the row, we're going to work into both loops of that stitch instead of the back loop. So yarn over and pick up both loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Chain 1 and turn our work. Back loop half double crochet in each stitch until the end of the row. At the end of the row, don't forget this last stitch in the corner. And now we're going to slip stitch to the closest stitch on the side of our sweater. And then I'll slip stitch 2 together. Turn your work and repeat this ribbing pattern all the way around the bottom border of your sweater. I've worked all the way around the bottom, and for the final 2 stitches, I'm going to slip stitch in the first stitch on the side, and I'll slip stitch into one more stitch. We're going to join both of these ends together. So you can line it up like this, and then we're going to slip stitch into the front loop on one end and work into the back loop on the other end, and yarn over and slip stitch together. So continue to insert the front loop on one side and out the back loop on the other, and stop right before the last stitch of the row. At the last stitch of the row, we're going to slip stitch by joining in both loops instead of the back loop. So I'm inserting into all 4 of those loops and slip stitching together. Then we can chain 1 and fasten off. And you can sew this loose end now or wait until the end of the project. To start working on the sleeves, I'm going to reattach my yarn directly in the middle of these chains. So go ahead and insert your 6mm crochet hook into the center chain. Grab your yarn, leaving about this much length, and loop it onto your crochet hook. Then pull that through the chain. And we're going to chain 2. Into the same chain that we attached our yarn, we're going to do a double crochet. And I'm going to work a double crochet a couple more times until I reach the first corner. So I'm inserting my next double crochet in this chain, and I'm also carrying the tail of yarn as I go so that I can weave it into my work. And for this first round, the stitches won't be perfect to work into, but as long as you can pick up 1 or 2 loops as you work on your double crochets, then you should be okay. When you reach the corner stitch, we're going to double crochet 2 together 2 times. To start, we'll yarn over and insert our crochet hook into this first stitch. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And we'll repeat the same thing again. So in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through all 3. So we've done our first 2 decreases, and now we're going to work regular double crochets around the whole sleeve until we reach the next corner, which is right here. When you reach the second corner, we're going to do 2 more decreases. The first decrease will go into the first 2 stitches, so yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And in the next 2 stitches, we'll do the same thing. So yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the stitch next to that, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Double crochet in the remaining stitches until the end of the round. At the end of the round, slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet. And this is how the first round on the sleeve looks. And to start the next round, we're going to chain 2 and work a few double crochets until we reach that first corner. So go ahead and work a few double crochets, and when you reach the corner area, we're going to work 1 decrease. So we're going to do a double crochet 2 together. So at the corner, we'll yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3. And now we're just going to work a regular double crochet into each stitch all the way around until we reach the next corner. So for this round, we'll only be doing 1 decrease at each corner instead of 2. And at the next corner, we'll do another decrease, and it doesn't really matter specifically where you do the decrease, just try to keep it in the corners. And after we work that decrease, we're going to do a regular double crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. And to finish off the round, we'll slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet. To start round 3, we will chain 2 and work 1 double crochet in every stitch until the end of the round. At the end of the round, slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet. And this will be the pattern for the remaining rounds of the sleeves. We're going to alternate between rows of just 1 double crochet in every stitch and rows of 1 decrease at each corner. So for this round, I'm going to do a decrease at each corner, and in my following round, I'm going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. And we're going to do this until we're satisfied with the width of the sleeve. So I stopped decreasing my sleeve after 10 rounds, and now I'm just going to work regular rounds of double crochet to increase the length of the sleeve. When working each round, you'll start by chaining 2, and then at the end, you'll slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet. And we're going to do this until we reach the length right before the cuff of the sleeve. I worked up to 28 rounds, and now we're going to decrease the bottom portion of the sleeve just before we work on the ribbed cuff. We're going to do 2 decreases at 4 different points in the round. So we'll do 2 decreases here, 2 in this corner, 2 in this corner, and 2 in the 4th corner. So we'll start by chaining 2 and working a double crochet in the first stitch. And then I will work double crochet 2 together. And I'll work another double crochet 2 together in the next 2 stitches. Double crochet in each stitch until you reach the next corner. And in the next corner, we'll double crochet 2 together 2 times. Double crochet until you reach the 3rd corner. Double crochet 2 together 2 times. And in the last corner, we'll do 2 decreases as well. At the end of the round, slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet. And repeat this pattern for 1 more round. So you'll work 2 decreases at each corner, the same way we did in this round. At the end of the round, slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet. We finished decreasing the bottom of our sleeve, and now I'm going to chain 1 and work a single crochet in each stitch all the way around. At the end of the round, slip stitch to the first single crochet. Now we will begin working on the ribbing for the sleeve. Before I do that, I'm going to switch out the 6mm crochet hook for the 5mm hook. And then I will chain 7. Half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. Half double crochet in each chain all the way across. Slip stitch to the first stitch on the side of the sweater, and slip stitch 2 together. turn your work, and work a back loop half double crochet in each stitch all the way across. For the last stitch of the round, work into both loops. So pick up the front and back loop and work a half double crochet. Chain 1 and turn your work. Repeat this pattern around the entire cuff of the sleeve. After the last ribbed row, I have 3 stitches remaining, so I'm going to slip stitch into the first one and then slip stitch 2 together. We're going to seam both ends of the cuff together, so line that up like this and work a slip stitch into the front loop on one end and out through the back loop on the other side. Repeat this slip stitch pattern all the way across, and when you reach the last stitch, we're going to go through both loops on both sides. And if you want the seam to be more secure, then you can slip stitch into a few stitches along the top. When you're finished, chain 1 and fasten off. And repeat the same pattern for the sleeve on the other side. At this point, we can weave in all of our loose ends. So I'm threading the yarn through my yarn needle, and I'm weaving in the loose tails inside of the sweater. So I'm just going through and picking up a few loops, and also weaving in and out sideways to hide the tail. When you're finished, you can snip off that yarn and repeat the same steps for weaving in the remaining loose ends. And here's the final product. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.